Martha, things are becoming stressful out there. And I think just in general, people are stressed, whether they think they have a job, whether they're talking about economic hardships. And of course, that can transcend home and shift into work. And it appears now that employers are starting to find that more and more of their employees can be suffering from mental health issues and have to do something about it. Talk to us about this, because I think this is it's a very important topic.
I like it when you mentioned absenteeism when you introduced this topic. But most importantly is more presenteeism, all right? This is where we come into the workplace, we put our jacket on the chair, and we are present, but we are absent at the same time. Your mind is somewhere else. You're not focused on the job, and that affects productivity, all right? So whatever it is that you're supposed to do, you're not able to give your 100% if your mind is somewhere else. You're stressed about school fees. You're stressed about mom who's ill in Chivu and she's got no medication for blood pressure. So all that will put more stress on you as an individual, and it affects what you're supposed to be doing in that moment, okay? So therefore, the productivity of whatever it is that your job is affected.
So, okay, I appreciate that, but we always say here about if anyone feels that they have mental health issues or are suffering from mental health, speak, communicate. It's our core message. Don't hold it in, don't bottle it in. At work, it's a little bit, it's harder, I suppose. I mean, how do these symptoms, how would you, if you were an employer, would you notice that someone in your workplace is suffering from some form of mental health challenges?
Right. So there are a few things to keep an eye on. One, let's talk about sleep. Sleep is very important. Okay. And if you're not sleeping well, we're going to see how you're slowed down in the way that you function on a day-to-day basis. Or you are, again, that absenteeism we were talking about earlier on. You're nodding off, you're drifting away. All those kind of things are signs and symptoms that you're going through something.
Wow, we have a problem, don't we? We have a serious problem because we sometimes doze off every morning when we get there.
You see.
Oh my goodness! I think we need to. What do you think? I think we need to go see him, don't we? I think immediately after this, for the next 4 days, that we won't be absent. No, but I mean being serious though, yeah.
So we can also then, in that regard, we have to then think about what our mental health policies look like. Do we have flexibility to allow our employees to take time off, especially if we notice that there's something wrong? It might be difficult for Andy to take time off because who's going to take the morning rush? Okay.
Oh, goodness.
So those are some of the things that we need to be thinking about.
So, but what policies can employers put in place then? I mean, how do you... This is a toughie. I mean, you can see that, okay, someone may be tired or overworked or stressed, but what in institutional-wide policies can you put in place?
We need to be thinking about flexible working type arrangements. Okay? Yes, there are systems that run 24 hours. I'm not able to come in at 7 tomorrow morning. Can I come in at 10? So somebody else can fill in for me. So this is where we need employers to start thinking around, can people work flexibly? Instead of, you have to be here at 7 o'clock every morning. Can you start at 10? Can you finish at 5? Can you finish at 3? Can we make your hours count at the end of the day, but with a little bit of flexibility?
How do you get over the issue of the worker, the employee, admitting they have a problem? Because maybe it may not be, it may be a real mental problem. It could be depression, it could be something. I mean, it may not be about stress related.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when you're struggling, chances are you're not going to realize that you're struggling until someone else points it out to you. This is where we're talking about, if someone is not present, how do we then support them? Do we have a safe enough place in the workplace where they can come in and we invite them in and say, look, Andy, we've noticed one or two things. Is everything okay?
Right.
Yeah? Perhaps you might not want to get into the issues because they're personal. Then that flexibility that we're talking about, can I take a couple of days off? Can I go and see a therapist? Can I go and see a doctor? All those kind of spaces need to be looked into and encouraged. Because remember, we also have a really big issue when it comes to stigma of mental health issues. The minute I say I've got a mental health issue, people think I am mad, I'm crazy, I've lost my mind. But mental health is not just about madness, essentially. We can talk about the kind of simple things like mild depression, anxiety. These are some of the things that are getting people onto drugs because they've got a mild mental health issue. You put on your clothes, you wear a tie, you go to the office, but you've got anxiety, all right? All those things are mental health issues, and they need to be discussed so that there are solutions put in place and things that can support those people that are struggling before it gets worse.
And so therefore, okay, but and then you also need to tell your employees that maybe give them the right, like the contact numbers and places where they can call. I mean, you need to mainstream this, because I don't see this being mainstreamed. I've never actually ever worked in an organization where anyone's really talked to me about mental health, to be frank, and I'm not dissing my own. Am I dissing myself? Am I dissing my own organization?
Are you sure you want to say that?
Well, apart from the company I work for right now. Yeah, I got to try, right?
Except. Because it's got this guy here on TV.
It's not mainstreamed, Merthyr, is it?
Yeah.
In companies.
So
that's a fact.
This is why this has come up, especially as a theme this year, to say we recognize there's a lot going on as far as stress in the workplace is concerned. Let's look at how we can prioritize that. And again, like you mentioned earlier on, this awareness is about then looking at what needs to be done to amplify this voice that's coming out to say people are struggling, even in the workplace. Because remember, when we started talking about drugs, we used to think it's only a problem for people who are unemployed. But
then it became a problem for rich
the
people.
Workforce is on some kind of drugs, one way or another. It might still be managed in the moment, but it's only a matter of time before it becomes.
Yeah, no, I hear that. But you know what? Some issues, though, which you say are anxiety caused by principally economic situations, yeah?
Yes.
And one of the problems about that is you can't really get rid of those anxieties unless you get the money to deal with your economic problem. So it's like so when you're at work,
chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, like you're at work and exactly, and your salary.
I am anxious.
Your salary isn't making. It's not meeting ends. I mean, you're working. You're not making enough money.
Yeah.
You got to look at side hustle. You're concerned. You're worried. I mean, like, what do I do as an employer? I mean, at the end of the day, I can't give you more money to settle your problems, which is effectively what you're looking for.
Right. It's not about money. So let's go back to what we said earlier on at the beginning. That presentism, you are at the job, but you're not producing. So I'm spending $500, $1,000 to employ you, and I'm expecting you to make $2,000, $5,000 for me, but you're making $200. So I'm actually running a loss because you're not productive. So the reason why you're not productive is you're not giving your 100%. You're not present.
Okay.
So it then becomes a chicken and egg situation. The economy is affected by the productivity of the individual. All right?
So it's a circle, vicious cycle.
Exactly. So if we don't look at where do we plug this problem in, of course we can't start by throwing in money where someone is struggling. The more money you throw at someone who's struggling, the more problems you're creating. So we need to look at how can we support this individual become more stable and become more productive. And then we get more money coming in and we can give him more money.
Well, I think this is an incredibly important topic, incredibly important subject to keep out there and talk about. October the 10th will be celebrating World Mental Health Day. And of course, one of the major themes is more employers looking to see what mental health strategies they want to put in their work sites and for their workforce. Mertha, as usual, it's been a pleasure talking to you. You stimulate thought, which is great.
Thank you very much, Andy. I always look forward to poking those buttons, especially you guys who are doing these things.
Well,
so you bring these issues out.
So you'll be happy to know, though, Method. I spent the entire last 7 days, attending a men's conference. But
Why didn't you call me?
The major issue. We're really good speakers. I think you would have been great there as well.
Right.
But the main issue that keeps coming from a men's perspective is these mental issues that we're dealing with. The pressures of the economy are a reality. Pressures at home as well. And just being a husband and a father in that particular environment, very, very difficult to deal with. And I think we definitely need to continue this conversation. And I'm out for my brothers. They are suffering in silence because they can't speak. They don't have platforms where they can go and speak.
Absolutely.
If the platforms are there, they then also become platforms that also, again, we're too shabby and scared to approach them and deal with these matters. So I think,
You see, I think especially when you bring these platforms to play, remember, men are more egocentric beings, and we become very aggressive to try and be alpha male in a group. When we get into a space, we want to establish a pecking order. Who's at the top? All right? So if we come to a space like that, we need to recognize those dynamics first before we even start to poke into certain things. Who's doing what, where, why, and how? So when you get men together, you need to understand what is it that stimulates this conversation to where we want it to get to. It doesn't just start with, okay, let's talk about mental health. Who's had their wife cheat this week? Do you think I'm going to raise my hand?
Absolutely
Of course not.
Yeah.
So we need to start packaging these things in a way that are actually going to get men to put their issues on the table and say, look, guys, I don't care if I'm the CEO of this organization, but I'm struggling.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Because the moment you're right at the top, everybody thinks you're Superman. Nothing affects you.
Gets lonely up there.
Exactly.
Gets colder.
You see now?
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we need to take off those hats sometimes and just say, right now, we are human. It's just 3 men here. Forget what you do. Let's talk about what's affecting us. That's how we've got to start those conversations.
Yeah. Well, the conversation has started. Thank you, Mertha, for that. And thanks, Chief. You're right, though. We have to talk more as men. I think, everybody needs to talk more. Particularly if you have any issues, please communicate. Go and talk to someone. It could be a loved one. It could be a stranger. It could be a psychotherapist like Mertha and Yamande. But go and speak to someone. And